Many students ask questions, what's the difference between active and passive voice? Do you also have the same questions? Then this video is for you. In this video, I'm gonna teach you what's the difference between active and passive voice. So let's get started. Hi, this is Mandeep. Thanks for clicking here. Well, there is no much difference between active and passive in English. They both are sentences and they both give the clear meaning. But actives are always preferred more as compared to the passives. There is a reason behind this because active tenses give the clear and direct meaning as opposed to the passive voice. So in this video, I will clear all your doubts about the active as well as passive voice. I would like to look at an example that can help us to understand what's the difference between active and passive voice. With the help of example, I will make it all clear for you how you can differentiate between active and passive voice. Well, there is not much difference as I earlier told you. The difference in both these sentences is about their subject. They both have different subjects. As you know, we have learned subject in already given videos, and you can see if you haven't seen them yet, you can watch that videos for your help. First, you must have knowledge about what's a subject in a sentence and what is an object in a sentence. Unless you know these both things, you can't understand what is a subject in active and a passive voice. So let's get started with the example. First, we have an example. For example, I can say I write a letter. Now we can convert this structure into another sentence. For example, a letter is written by me. So what's the difference in these both sentences? Well, there is a little difference, and obviously you can understand it very clearly. If we look at the first sentence, you can see in the first sentence, what is the action? The action or the verb is write. It means I write a letter. Write is a verb in this sentence. It means we can say it is an action in sentence. Who is the person who is performing this action? This action is performed by I. It means I writes a letter means I is the person who performs this action, and this action is performed on a letter. So this is actually called an active sentence. Now why this is an active sentence, we will learn very soon. Now we will have a look at the second sentence. A letter is written by me. So what is the difference in this sentence as compared to the first one? If we see in the second sentence, the action is same. Letter is written. The action is write. But who is the performer? Who is the doer of this sentence? In this sentence, unlike the first sentence, the subject is not performing the action, but actually the subject is receiving the action. As you can see in the first sentence, I was doing the action and a letter was receiving the action. But in the passive sentence, it is quite opposite. In the passive form, you can see a letter is receiving the action of the subject that is written in the end of the sentence. So actually this is the main difference. Now we can say there is a little difference between active and passive voice. In every that sentence in which a subject performs the action is called an active sentence. On the other hand, in the passive voice, this structure is totally opposite. As in the passive voice, subject do not do any action, but actually it receives the action of the subject. For example, now you can clearly see that in the first sentence where I have written I write a letter, it means I am the subject and I am performing the action, that is write. Who is receiving my action? A letter is receiving my action. So on the other hand, in the second sentence you can see a letter is receiving the action of the subject. It means in the passive voice, the subject never performs an action, but actually it receives the action of the subject. So this is the main difference. Now I would like to tell you in the form of definition. Now we will do the definition of active as well as passive. So now here is the definition of active tense. In the active tense, actually the subject performs the action that is shown by the verb. Every that action happens in the active sentence is done or performed by the subject. But on the other hand, in the passive voice is totally different. In the passive voice, a subject never perform an action. Actually, the subject in the passive voice receives the action of the subject, and a subject who performs this action is always added in the end of the sentence by using preposition by. For example, now we will have a look at the second example. In the active sentence, here we can see Ram is playing football. In this sentence, you can say Ram is performing the action, and what is the action? Action is play. What is the thing that is receiving the action of the Ram? That is football. So this is called an active sentence. If we convert this sentence into the passive sentence, you can see the sentence form will be changed. The object that receives the action in the active sentence will become the subject of the passive sentence, and it is receiving the action over there. And the subject who does or performs the action in the active sentence, like Ram, will be added to the sentence in the end by using preposition by. So now how we can convert it? You can see football is being played by Ram. Now the object of the active sentence has become the passive sentence subject, and the person who do or did that action is added to the sentence in the end by preposition by. So this is the actually main difference between active and passive voice. Simply we can say, in an active sentence you have to see if your subject performs the action or not, and in the passive voice your subject cannot perform an action. Actually it will receive the action. So this is the main difference between active and passive. So now the question arises, obviously you would have a question in your mind, what if the meaning are same in the both sentences, then why they are different? Why do we need to learn the passive voice? Well, there is a reason that you need to know about why it is important in English to know about the passive voice. If you want to learn passive voice, the first condition is that you must have knowledge about the active sentences. Active sentences are those sentences in which the subject performs the action. In the passive, the things are quite opposite. Now we will learn why do we need to learn about the passive voice. In the passive voice, these all things are considered or related to the focus. On what things do you want to focus upon? What is the thing that is being focused upon in your sentence? This is the thing that decides, that help you to decide what sentence do you need to form, active or passive. For example, let's learn this with an example. For example, there are two boys, Adam and John, and you have a bike. John and Adam want to get or take your bike for some time. Now you have given your bike to Adam, and then another friend of you come and ask, who has taken your bike? And you would say, Adam has taken my bike. Now what is the focus in the sentence? Now his focus is on the person who is doing the action. Who has done the action? Who has taken your bike? Adam. So in this sentence your focus is not on your bike but on the person who has performed or done this action. You didn't give your bike to John, you gave your bike to Adam. So we can say the focus is Adam, so Adam is performing the action. We can make this sentence an active. On the other hand, in the passive voice, these things change. For example, in the passive voice, the focus changes. If your bike, for example, if your bike is stolen by someone else, you don't know who is the person who has done this action. Now when you will move to the police station to file a complaint, what would you state over there? Obviously you would focus on your bike, not on the thief. So there the sentence will be that my bike has been stolen. Here you know that you don't know the doer. Who is the doer of the sentence? Here you can see your focus is on your bike, not on the thief. So you would say my bike has been stolen by a thief or by someone. Or most of the time you would never tell a person by using by. You would normally say my bike has been stolen. Now focus will decides upon which things or what things do you want to focus. So here the focus is on the bike. So bike cannot perform an action. It is an non-doer subject. In the active sentence you have a doer subject or a performer subject, but on the other hand in the passive voice there is a non-doer subject. So in the non-doer subjects, a bike is a non-doer subject and it cannot perform an action. The action is performed by someone else who we don't know. So here the focus is bike. So this is, hopefully you would have understood what's the difference between active and passive voice. The main thing is focus. Upon what things do you want to focus? If the focus of your sentence is on the doer, then you need to make the active sentence, because in the active sentence a subject can perform the action. But if you focus on the thing that can't perform an action, or we simply can say that is a non-doer, then you need to make a passive sentence. So this is the main difference between active and passive. So simply we can say, whenever we have to differentiate between active and passive voice, you must clear first that if you have a doer subject and you want to focus on it, then you need to make an active sentence. And if you have a non-doer subject and you want to focus on it, then you need to make a passive voice. So now I will give you structures of the active and the passive voice. In the active sentences, you can use the structure subject plus verb according to the tense and the object. On the other hand, in the passive voice, the main identity of the passive voice is helping verb plus V3. So you can say subject plus helping verb plus V3 plus object. So these are the structures. Hopefully you would have understood the sentence. If you like this video, please do share, do like, and motivate us to make more videos for you. Thanks.